Over time, even the most powerful heroes can be forgotten, and some heroes just struggle to fit in, ultimately left abandoned and considered outdated in the more modern era. Captain Atom is a hero that DC seemingly stopped caring about in 2011, which is also wild to think about when you realize just how powerful this guy is. Captain Atom is like Shazam in the sense that they were both characters DC amalgamated from other publishers. Shazam came from Fawcett Comics, whereas Captain Atom came from Charlton Comics, which by the way is the same publisher that Peacemaker also initially hailed from. But while Peacemaker has only become more relevant with time thanks to his amazing HBO Max and DC live action series, Captain Atom has become less and less relevant, sadly. He was considered a powerhouse back in the day, capable of reconstructing matter, self-sustenance, teleportation, and even time manipulation, to name a few of his abilities. But you wouldn't know it to see him lately. He rarely appears now, and when he does, it's normally to get beat up by other folks who he should, in theory, outclass, like Gotham Girl and The Fraction. Are there any heroes who you feel have been disrespected like this? Let me know in the comments, because this always bothers me when stuff like this happens. Captain Atom also served as the inspiration for Watchmen's Dr. Manhattan, but today, Dr. Manhattan, I would say, is more well-known and more relevant than Captain Atom himself now is. Wild. Speaking of someone who is less relevant now than when they first appeared, Maxima was initially a villain in the comics somewhat before she became a hero. She was introduced to us as an alien attracted to Earth kind of by Superman, whom she sought to become her mate, abandoning her betrothed at the time, Ultra. She made her first appearance in the 90s and honestly was a super 90s character. Like, look at this costume. Look at her original New Earth costume. That was what she was, at least to start. In modern day, Maxima is still a queen and is an ally to Superman. She also ends up being in love with a woman and actually gets help from Wonder Woman to keep both her crown and her partner, but even then, that story actually happened back in 2020, so still, it's been a while. And that's with, once again, a Maxima who I feel like has been changed somewhat. This next character, who is someone who has been in and out of the spotlight for a while, swapping out now and then with another character who shares her hero name, is once again out of the spotlight. And I want to know, why can't we have both? When it comes to Huntress, it seems like we can only ever have one of them at a time for some reason. Now don't get me wrong, I am a big fan of Helena Wayne, of which we now have a version back again in this new golden age. But where, oh where, is Helena Bertinelli? I feel like anytime one Helena is in, the other one has to be out. Look at how many Spider-Mans Marvel has. I mean, I think we can handle 2 Huntresses, no? I feel like DC is like, you can't, you'll be confused. I'm like, dude, if I can understand your continuity, I can understand anything. Anything. I could be a brain surgeon right now, but instead I read comics. The Huntress we are currently missing here is Helena Bertinelli, an ally of the Batman family and a member of the original Birds of Prey. Helena has sworn to fight against organized crime as part of a personal vendetta to get back at those who killed her family. She also has come into conflict with other vigilantes due to her willingness to kill her enemies, at least initially. As far as I can tell, the last major appearance of Bertinelli's Huntress was in the Shadows of the Bat event in 2022 when she appeared in Detective Comics. But yeah, I feel like since Helena Wayne has come back in, she's kind of taken more of a back seat. So even though she did appear in that event, it still feels like we haven't really seen her. She's not as prominent as she used to be. This next character was so far out of the continuity that when I started watching Arrow vs. The Flash, I thought Cisco was a completely new character and hero who was made for this show. Yeah, that's how little I knew about this character, and I'm supposed to know everything about every character. Cisco Ramon in the Flash show is a member of Barry Allen's Team Flash. He eventually goes on to gain premonition powers which allow him to see into the future, which he calls vibing. He can basically like touch a person and kind of see into their future, taking the superhero name for himself of Vibe. In the series, Cisco gets his powers from the same event that granted Barry his, the particle accelerator explosion, at least initially. And I was surprised to learn that the character of Vibe was actually inspired by the original Vibe who appeared in the comics, or at least the Prime Earth version of Vibe, which was inspired by the original Vibe. The original comic book Vibe was Paco Ramon, whose powers were based in sonic waves, and who hails from the New Earth continuity. Now, the New 52 version from the Prime Earth continuity is Cisco Ramon, who first appeared back in 2012. He gets his powers from one of Darkseid's boom tubes, being exposed to the boom tube, which resulted in his DNA basically being rewritten, giving him powers. His powers are based on vibrational energy, allowing him to emit shock waves, But that's not all. He can also use his vibrational powers to sense and create holes in reality, allowing him to travel to other Earths. He can also vibe with people and get a sense of their past or present, but unlike the show, not their future. These next two heroes I'm going to talk about are a package deal. But we'll start off with the first one in the set, Hawk. Or at least the first one in terms of how most people order their names, I'd say. So, who is Hawk? He is one of the many Hank Halls to have existed over at DC Comics. Possibly one of the reasons why he's faded into the background. There's been a few Hank Halls, honestly. DC tends to shy away from characters who they think, like I said, might be too confusing. Huntress. Any Hank Halls, never seemingly considering that the continuity might be the most confusing thing for fans. Me included. Maybe you too. Hank's Hawk was initially paired up with his brother and is known as an avatar of war. There have been many Hawks since then, but they've pretty much all come and gone since they've been introduced, and now we're back to Hank. The last we saw of Hank, I believe, was in Batman the Brave and the Bold, where he appeared in a cameo capacity alongside the current Dove. Alongside Hawk is typically Dove, the avatar of peace. Initially, this was Hank's brother, Dawn. Then following Dawn's death, it became Dawn Granger, who is a girl, Dawn D-A-W-N, who would act as Dove opposite her sister, Holly Granger. Currently, Dawn as Dove works in tandem with Hank, who is Hawk once more. Dove also, I believe, hasn't been seen since her cameo appearance alongside Hank in Batman the Brave and the Bold, and like Hawk, she is also not a prominent hero at DC Comics in the current continuity. At least, I wouldn't consider them to be prominent myself. Some characters fade into the background over time, and some fade into the background only shortly after being introduced to us. I'm actually sad that this hero didn't end up making it as a mainstay. Sideways was one of the heroes we got from what was supposed to be a new era of superheroes. These were all original and new DC heroes created as part of an initiative to basically bring something fresh to the table. Fresh characters, fresh heroes, as opposed to just doing the same thing over and over again. Sideways was kind of similar to Marvel's Spider-Man in terms of his look and to a certain extent his personality. He was a young hero thrown into the world of superheroes, struggling to find his place, a sense of balance, and get a handle on his new teleportation-based powers. Derek James, as Sideways, had the main power of opening up rifts, in some cases interdimensional ones, which he could use to teleport him and others through. While a cool and promising character initially, he got his own self-titled series, but afterwards faded more into the background. His last appearance was more of a cameo and background one in the Dark Crisis event. This next hero hasn't even really got that courtesy though, it seems. For me, Dolphin is one of those characters that I feel like was really cool, and I'm always anticipating her return as a result because I just want to see more of her. But as far as I can tell, we haven't seen her since 2017 in the comics when she appeared in Volume 8 of Aquaman. Now granted, there is a possibility I could be wrong about this, or honestly any other character on the list, and if I am, I'm sorry, do let me know in the comments. I have an approximate knowledge of many things.
I have approximate knowledge of many things.
And the exact last appearances of characters, especially in the DC Comics world continuity, which are a little harder to verify without going back through every single issue from the publisher because of how information is categorized online. When it comes to Dolphin though, I know she is not well known enough for folks to know who I was talking about when I reacted to the Aquaman 2 trailer on my YouTube channel and incorrectly guessed that she might be the woman in the white costume who actually turned out to be Atlanta, Aquaman's mom. I thought maybe Queen Mara would die in the film and then Dolphin would basically come in to replace her as Aquaman's romantic partner. I was super psyched. I was like, oh my gosh, is Dolphin gonna be in this movie? Oh my gosh, I'm so ready. But I was very wrong about that. Still, Dolphin is a character I'd love to see more of in the DCU and in the comics. In the New Earth continuity, she is the result of an alien experiment, but in the Prime Earth continuity, she's an Atlantean. In both realities, she is an ally of Aquaman, and in the New Earth reality, she even ends up married to his adopted son, Tempest, with the two having a child together who's named Ceridian. Unfortunately, in that continuity, she and Ceridian perish when Atlantis is destroyed by the Spectre. Even in that continuity, she's gone. And in our continuity, we haven't seen her in a long time. Moving on, Aztec in the Prime Earth continuity was a hero who was introduced for one story arc in Justice League of America, set up to be a much larger and important character in the canon, and then, without much warning, just faded into the background. Since then, she has made a few appearances in Wonder Woman. I will give you that she appeared in Tales of the Titans last September in issue number 3, but at the same time, this is after not appearing for a few years, and even then, her appearances have not really been major. Aztec is Nayeli Constant, who was given the power and responsibility of becoming a hero by her helm. As Aztec, she is tasked with continuing the ancient never-ending fight against the dark god Tezcatlipoca. I bet most people also didn't even know that she was a legacy hero. Yeah, she is. Before we had Nayeli, we also had Uno, who appears in both the New Earth and Prime Earth continuity. But despite DC trying to make Uno's Aztec a thing, it actually did not work out at all. He was only around for about 4 years, with him also getting his battle suit and helmet as well, and that's where his powers come from. They brought him back for the Prime Earth continuity, but only so they could basically kill him off, with Nayeli inheriting his helm, suit, and mantle, and I guess they were hoping, she could be Aztec, and maybe everyone will be into it, and then nothing really happened with Aztec. Finally, a few years back, DC hosted their Round Robin, where fans got to vote for which characters and teams would get comic series. One of the series I wanted to happen was focused on this hero, Captain Carrot. Captain Carrot is Rodney Rabbit. In the Prime Earth continuity, he is a Superman-like hero who hails from his own Earth, filled with other anthropomorphic animals like himself, Earth 26, formerly known as Earth-C back in the New Earth continuity. Needless to say, Captain Carrot did not make the cut for DC's Round Robin. I know I was one of the few that wanted that to happen, so I'm still waiting for him to come back into the spotlight again. He hasn't really been around in the comics since 2017, sadly.
Number 10 is Atom Smasher. No, I'm not talking about Atom Smasher from Cyberpunk lore. I'm talking about the lesser-known Atom Smasher, as in the atomic particle smasher, aka Robert Julian Rothstein, who was a big deal in the DC world, literally, not figuratively. Picture this, he's a hero who could grow super big, towering over trees, and packing a punch that could knock anybody out. Now, despite his mega size and power, he didn't get the spotlight he deserved in many big storylines. But there was one storyline where he did in fact prove himself. Atom Smasher did something huge, literally and figuratively this time, by kicking a tyrant out of power in Kahndaq. Leading a team of rebel do-gooders, he flexed his muscles, showing bravery, and fought for what he thought was right. His powers on display played a big role in taking down the bad guys, and his actions reshaped the DC universe by returning control to the people of Kahndaq. Atom Smasher might not have been in the headlines all the time, but when he stepped up, he changed the game for the better. At number 9 is Saturn Girl. Saturn Girl is a seriously underrated superhero in the DC universe. She's all about telepathy, a superpower that lets her read minds and communicate without even speaking. But despite her awesome abilities, she's often overlooked, just like the rest of her crew, the Legion of Superheroes. The team doesn't always get the credit it deserves, always living in the shadow of bigger superhero groups like the Justice League or Justice Society of America. But here's the kicker, Saturn Girl once saved the entire timeline. Yeah, you heard that right. A girl who just communicates with her thoughts saved the multiverse. She used her mind mojo to gather every Legion member across different universes to take down the big bad guy, the Time Trapper. Without her, who knows what kind of chaos would have happened. Saturn Girl might not be as famous as Superman or Wonder Woman, but her brain power packs a serious punch when it's used correctly. She's a legend in her own right, even if not everybody knows about it. If you're enjoying this video so far, please support Top 10 Nerd by pressing like, subscribing to the channel, and ringing that notification bell. It helps the video get pushed out to more people, and I would really appreciate it, so do that. Thank you very much. Moving on to number 8, we have Mr. Terrific. Michael Holt, also known as Mr. Terrific, doesn't just juggle lasers like they're nothing. I mean, this guy's got brains and brawn. He's all about saving the day and helping people out, but he doesn't get the credit he deserves. This dude's a top-notch genius and can do some seriously amazing things with his smarts. I'm talking about being the big shot in the Justice Society of America and being labeled as the smartest member ever. Mr. Terrific isn't just book smart though, he's a wizard with tech too. He pulled off some mind-blowing stuff against Brother Eye and saved Selina Kyle's life by putting her heart right where it belonged. Bottom line, Mr. Terrific doesn't always get the spotlight often, but when he does, it's because he's using that epic brain of his to pull off some seriously epic moves. At number 7, The Question. Question is an often overlooked figure, especially the version portrayed by Renee Montoya. Renee, a skilled detective, swaps the comfort of accolades for the shadows of vigilantism, seeking to create genuine change. Despite her remarkable career, the Question remains in obscurity, deprived of the rightful recognition she deserves. Not all strength comes from overt displays of power, as we've just seen. Renee embodies the strength through resilience. After grappling with the toll of her superhero life on her mental well-being, she'd stepped away from the role. But when duty called, she did not hesitate to don the Question's identity once more. Her willingness to confront personal struggles and yet rise to the challenge when needed showcases a different kind of fortitude. Her story emphasizes that strength isn't just about physical prowess. It's about determination to confront the inner battles and still stepped up to protect others when the call comes. At number 6, Vixen's one cool hero you might not have heard much about. She's in the Justice League, but hasn't got much attention as some other big names. What makes her special is how she taps into the powers of animals, like she channels their abilities thanks to this totem passed down through generations. Any animal she could think of, bam, she can manifest the strength of a lion or the speed of a cheetah, and so on and so forth. The latest Vixen, Marie McCabe, has done some seriously awesome stuff. Like, she became the boss of the Justice League. Leading the top squad of superheroes is kind of a big deal. Only a handful of heroes have ever done that, and like their names are Batman and Batman. And to get the thumbs up from Batman himself to take charge is pretty massive. It shows that she's not just tough, but smart and reliable too. It's like being the team captain of an all-star team. A ton of pressure, but also a big honor. At number 5 is Ragman. Ragman is seriously underrated in the DC universe. He's not in the spotlight much, but he is seriously powerful. Rory Reagan, the guy inside the Ragman suit, can control it like it's an extension of himself. This suit's not just a fashion statement, it's also a serious weapon. It protects Reagan and also kicks some serious bad guy butt. His suit's got this cool power that can absorb the souls of evil people. Pretty heavy stuff. Ragman isn't afraid to take on big bad demons. He once faced a whole fleet of demons and saved the Earth, which is definitely no small feat. Even though he did take a beating, he came out on top and really showed how brave and heroic he is. DC should totally give this guy more screen time, as he deserves to be up there with the big leagues like Superman and Wonder Woman. At number 4 is Spoiler. There's no spoilers, don't worry guys. The hero's name is Spoiler. Also known as Stephanie Brown, she might not ring a bell as loud as other big names in the Bat family, but she is a superhero worth knowing about. She didn't just follow in somebody else's footsteps, as she carved her own path. As Spoiler, she stepped up big time, especially when facing off against a colossal baddie named Brother Eye. Now this villain here is no joke, like big league Justice level big. But Stephanie wasn't afraid to take him head on. When Brother Eye tried to mess things up using a different timeline, Stephanie didn't just freak out. Instead, she used that timeline to her advantage, brought heroes from that time to help her out. And if it weren't for her guts and quick thinking, things in the DC world might have turned out totally different. The next time you hear about Bat family superheroes, don't forget to give some props to Stephanie Brown, aka Spoiler, because she's a real unsung hero of the DC universe. At number 3 is Killer Frost. Caitlin Snow, known as Killer Frost, doesn't totally get the spotlight she deserves, although she is kind of heavily featured on this channel. Initially seen as a bad guy, she's been trying hard to change that image. Imagine going from total baddie to trying to do the good stuff. It's a massive leap. Killer Frost wasn't just chilling out, pun intended, as a villain. She had to battle her own past and nature to become a hero. Now what's cool about her is the determination she showed. It's like fighting against the odds, clawing her way out of the dark side. The transformation from an icy antagonist to a legit Justice League member is pretty huge, and not everybody gets that chance. So yeah, Killer Frost might not be as famous, but she's definitely earned her stripes. She's proof that even the chilliest hearts can thaw out for the better. At number 2 is the Human Target. Christopher Chance, better known as Human Target, is a hero in the shadows of DC Comics. His superpower? Transforming into anybody to safeguard important folks. He also has awesome detective skills, which make him a top-notch problem solver. But what makes him truly stand out is his selflessness. He once shielded Bruce Wayne from Deadshot's deadly aim. But he didn't just save the day, he shielded Batman's secret identity too, using his face-swapping talents. Human Target's heroics go unnoticed. He's like this secret guardian angel for all the big shots, and yet few ever give him the applause he deserves. Imagine having the guts to confront a villain like Deadshot, risk risking your own life just to keep others safe. It's these unsung heroes like Human Target who deserve a spot in the limelight. And coming in at number 1 is Batwing. Luke Fox as Batwing in DC Comics is seriously underrated. Now he's one of those heroes who doesn't get enough credit because, well, I mean, Batman's got this big shadow covering everybody else in Gotham. But Luke, he's no sidekick, you guys. He's a force to be reckoned with. There was one time in the comics when Gotham was about to get nuked by the League of Assassins. Now Luke didn't just sit around twiddling his thumbs. No, he got right in the thick of it. I mean, sure, he got nabbed alongside Azrael, but that didn't stop him. After busting out, he used his smarts to defuse the bomb that would have wiped out all of Gotham. It's definitely top-tier hero stuff. It's a shame, really, that more folks don't really give Batwing the credit he deserves, given that, you know, he's hardly the most unique Bat character in all of DC. Yet, he's super awesome. He's not just another guy in a cool bat suit. He's got the brains, the guts, and the will to save the day when it counts the most.